I've always wanted a great record collection, one that's immaculately curated, with some great pressings, all in amazing condition, with no pops or crackles. Everything kept in anti-static liners and some great quality outer sleeves to keep everything nice and safe. Ideally, everything would be alphabetically sorted, everything labelled A to Z, with perhaps the odd label for specific artists that are my favourites. But that's not me. What I have is a collection that's been in storage for many years, sometimes in suboptimal conditions, and many of the albums are in desperate need of some care and attention. And more importantly, they're crying out to be played and enjoyed. Hi, I'm Keith, and welcome to Back in the Groove, where I want to share my reconnection with my vinyl collection and re-entry into the world of vinyl and record collecting. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my journey into collecting vinyl and other forms of media for what's been the majority of my life. I bought my first record at the age of around 12 or 13, which I think was Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody. And that was shortly followed by the album A Night at the Opera. And then through other school friends, I started to discover other music. We'd play it on a lunchtime in the music room where we'd all hang out, and I'd get exposed to things like Deep Purple, made in Europe, and I'd also listen to Rush, Hemispheres, Genesis, Selling England by the Pound. And so I began to discover these rock bands of the time. And not long after that, of course, there was the emergence of punk, and I dabbled a little bit in the Sex Pistols, Ian Dury, Elvis Costello, The Jam, etc., before really coming back into the fold and discovering more in the more general hard rock vein. So, I was into all of the classic rock bands of the late 70s, early 80s and onwards. And that took me through many twists and turns as, the classic rock format fell away, and in came thrash and then grunge and so on. Now, along that journey, we relocated house. And in fact, it was something like 26 years or so ago. It was 1998. And I don't actually recall, once we'd moved to the house that I'm actually in now, that vinyl had much of a place in this property. So vinyl has been in storage probably for 25, 26 years. What I found is that as CDs came out, I, like many people, moved away from vinyl and started collecting CDs and playing CDs as a medium. And what happened is, I collected CDs for a long, long time. That then moved into the typical ripping CDs onto the computer, and then playing through the computer, through a DAC, etc., and enjoying my music in that way, which was, at the time, a lot more convenient and I guess a lot more accessible. And then I found that I needed this space that I'm in now for a working environment. Until very recently, I was running a small business out of this space, selling Lego, and only recently have I sold that up and decided to retire. And one of the main draws of that was for me to get back into the world of music, the world of physical media, get the vinyl back out, and the CDs and everything else, and start really enjoying the music that I've amassed over the years. Now, of course, what I found pulling everything out of storage is not everything is in the best of conditions, and it's going to take some time to work through the collection, figure out what I've got, get it documented, start to get things cleaned up. And there's a whole other massive things that I need to go through. And that's what I want to share with you people as I go through this journey of rediscovery. Now, to give you a flavor of the kind of things in the collection, I just want to show you perhaps a few albums from the collection, just to give you an idea of what I've been into over the years and what we might expect to see as we discover the collection. And first up, I've chosen this Alice in Chains record. This is Facelift. And the reason I've chosen this is, without getting into all of the detail of knowing my collection inside out, what I do know is this is probably one of the more valuable records, because this came out at a time that vinyl was waning in popularity, when it almost died. And so not so many of these would have been bought. And that means that this, I think, is selling for around the £200 mark. So this is one of the more valuable items in the collection. Now, the next one I've chosen to show you is this, which is Emerson, Lake and Palmer's Brain Salad Surgery, which is a great, great album and an entry point for me into progressive rock. And one of the things I love about this, which is why I've chosen to show it, is because of the way the sleeves, and this is the great thing about vinyl, isn't it? You know, sleeves would be very unique. This particular one has still got the poster that came with the album. I'm not going to unfold all of this, but this was a big fold out piece that came with the album itself. So that's one reason for showing you it. But I also wanted to show this to show the kind of thing that I'm dealing with. And this is the sadness that some of these records have got. And the reason for this is where they've been stored in a bad environment and been pressed too close together. I think what's happened is, with the moisture in the air, etc., this has actually stuck to the record in front of it and has taken some of the surface off here. So this is obviously irreparable, which really makes me sad. And this is the kind of thing that we're going to discover as we go through the collection. But a great album, and I really wanted to show you that, to show you condition of records and to show you some of my musical taste. Next up, we have got Frank Zappa. This is Overnight Sensation, and one of the best entry points into the world of Frank Zappa, I believe, at least. Some great tracks on here. We got Camarillo Brillo, one of my favorites, Zombie Wolf. So some great tracks on here. Nice original sort of gatefold here, and a really nice album. Now, one of the reasons I chose to show this is because one of the things that happened to me, and I can't really put a year on it, if I'm honest, but it must have been probably 30 years ago. I went through a phase of discovering Frank Zappa, and I actually part exchanged a lot of records with a local store so that I could buy Frank Zappa albums. And what I gave up was a lot of very collectible things at the time, like Kiss and Iron Maiden things. You know, there were Mexican imports, there was picture discs, there was all sorts of stuff in there. And I really wish I'd kind of kept them, to be honest. But, you know, hey-ho, that's life, and one of the things that we've just got to live with as we move through life. Now, next up is Led Zeppelin. This is Led Zeppelin 3. It's not the original, but it is, again, another great example of a great sleeve with the rotating disc here. that sits inside um, uh, this side of the gatefold sleeve, and is a great record as well, of course, and a great band and a big influence on my musical tastes. Next up, I have got an It Bites album. This is Thank You and Good Night, which was the last album with Francis Dunnery, a live album. And I've picked this one really to illustrate a couple of things. First of all, the fact that it's a picture disc. At least one of the discs is a picture disc. The fact also that it's in some form of protective cover, which has kept it in really nice condition. And so this is a real good example of a nice quality example of a record from the collection. Also, an amazing band. I love It Bites, both the Francis Dunnery era and the latter era that moved on without him. And next up is a Trapeze album. Trapeze are one of my favorite bands. My wife is an enormous Glenn Hughes fan. And the reason I chose this one to show is because it's a little bit different to the normal Trapeze albums. This is a kind of a best of on the Bandit label. And it's a nice example where they've got a kind of nice bio of the band, although there are a few inaccuracies on here. And it's a really good compilation of the music that represents the band, things like Coast to Coast, Your Love Is All Right, Touch My Life, Medusa, You Are the Music, Black Cloud, etc. And another fantastic example. And an album of theirs that I don't see around too often. So I thought I would show that. Not particularly super valuable or anything like that. I just thought I'd show you because it's a little bit different. And then another example of some of my tastes is this Wasp album. I was amazed by Wasp when they first came out with the Forbidden single, of course. And this first album is still a really good favorite of mine. And I picked this really just to illustrate the musical taste, but also the fact that this has got the picture sleeve. And also what we get with a lot of these is things like a merchandise slip as well. So with that, I hope it gives you an insight into me and the kind of items that we're going to find in the collection as we work through it, get them organized, get them cleaned up. And along the way, I really want to discuss some of these bands, talk about some ranking videos, some top tens and other various aspects to, really sort of start talking about the music as well as just collecting the records. So stick with me. Please do subscribe to the channel if you think this might be something that you're going to be interested in, and follow me along on my journey as I get back in the groove.